Part 2, lawyers. How do you want to fight? Choosing a lawyer for yourself is a bit of a personal choice. There's a number of things to look at depending on what spectrum of this divorce side that you're on. If you've never dealt with lawyers before, I'd always recommend to ask your friends and family first about situations. Obviously, with where we're at today, you don't have to look very far to find someone who's gone through a situation like mine. So ask them first to see if they have anybody that is going to work for you. I talked to 3 different lawyers and chose the third one. The first one, right at the time when this was all going down, I went and talked to one. I just think I found her out of the phone book, or maybe it was on the internet, one of the two. And just kind of said, look, I think this is where my situation is going. What in the hell do I do? So she was helpful. I just bought an hour of her time and kind of explained the process of what's going on here. And I think she would have been pretty good, but she was also somebody that, that's part of her job, is to go after this person and get them, kind of thing. And so because I didn't know what I wanted yet, I didn't know what was going down, I just kind of left it at that. A couple months later, I think maybe around the time when I got that first proposal is when I started looking a little heavier. I went and talked to another woman who was recommended by a friend of mine who'd gone through a divorce a couple years prior. Didn't listen to a damn word I said, didn't listen to any questions that I had, just told me what was up and kept me for an extra 15 minutes and then charged me an extra hour. So that cost me almost $1,000 to find out that she is not the woman for me. You might find yourself in a position when you're paying $450, $500 an hour for a lawyer and you have to try people out, you might have to spend money like this. But don't worry, you're going to be spending way more than this. So don't even worry about the $500. The third one, like I mentioned in the first video, she was recommended to me by a family member, and went and spoke to her, and she was the only one so far that had kind of listened. And she didn't give me news that I wanted to hear, but at this point I had to choose somebody. So I went with her and just said, wherever you are up there, help me out. The first story of doom and gloom was really hard to hear because it still had it in my mind that my wife wouldn't really do this, even though this is already happening right in front of me on the table. There it is. You are being sued. Kids are mine. And it's a situation that I just really can't explain the emotions that go behind it, other than you just turn into this like beta version of yourself. And then you got to go and put on a nice shirt and go talk to a lawyer about it. And inside you're just like, and this person is there is like, oh, your case number 1442. I don't give a shit. And this is just what they do for a living. One of the things that I found out very quickly is that depending on what kind of lawyer you choose is how much money you're going to spend. So this all came to me well after the fact. So if you're on the defendant side like I was, I would highly recommend choosing someone like mine who didn't ever take advantage of me at all, talked to me when she had to, sent emails back and forth and phoned people when she had to, and it turns out to be an actually very fair situation for me. The lawyer that my ex-wife chose was the exact opposite of that. She was a young woman, really wanted to make a name for herself, and would do and say pretty much anything to help her client. It turned out that that was a good choice for her, because when you're sitting over here and you don't have anything, you don't have any money, except you have these 2 precious little children that you're going to make sure that baby daddy over there pays top dollar for, that's a great situation for a lawyer, because she can go and make you feel like an absolute piece of shit. The problem with that is that lawyers like that talk a lot more, which means they charge you a whole bunch more. So, nice, fair lawyer, decent price, still too expensive, but they only talk when they have to, compared to, I'm going to go fucking get them, and no matter what happens, I'm going to make sure to explain everything, and I'm going to point my finger, whether it's via email, over the phone, or in person. You're going to pay a lot more money for that. One of the things that I really found out quickly too is your lawyer is an extension of yourself, as far as who you are in this situation, what's your character, what's your personality type, and what are you doing here. Initially, I was there to buy my children, and eventually had to go and separate all of my stuff that she wanted money out of. And I was the one trying to get kids and giving all of the stuff away. On the other hand, she was keeping the kids until this and this and this and this, and taking apart all these assets one by one and going after everything she could get. So depending on what spectrum you're on is what kind of lawyer I would recommend to choose. Crazy one that's going to bark at your ex, that's going to be more expensive for you because they're going to talk more. Their emails are going to be longer. They're going to go after stuff, which means they're going to talk more. So just be prepared for that. If you're on the plaintiff side of I'm going to go get that motherfucker, then make sure you have another few $1,000s, wherever you're getting your money from. You're going to need the upfront cost for a lawyer is called a retainer. What happens is you pay up front, and then once that money gets down to that little bit left, you have to pay another retainer. Lawyers always get money first, and then they act after that money has been paid. My lawyer was really nice. She gave me a small retainer, and already out of the box was something that was somewhat affordable for me, I guess. Of course, when you only have a little retainer, you also have to pay a little bit more often. Most lawyers I found in this situation were $5,000. So you put $5,000 down.
There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. Accepted everywhere, even in department stores.
And you say, okay, well, whatever you do, go and let me know when I need to do something, which is usually when emails go back and forth. Again, being COVID times, everything was done over the phone and over email, except for this mediation situation that I talked about in the last video. It was interesting to see how when this started for me, the numbers were here for the kids. And we hadn't even started talking about all this stuff. This was just custody. There's online calculators as to what you're going to be paying, give or take. As for alimony, so they'll call it spousal support, child support, and then these Section 7 expenses. It may not be exactly what you're going to pay, but it gets you into the ballpark as roughly what you're going to be paying. And what happens, the main thing is that you put how many kids you have, their ages, and then your salaries, one versus the other. The first one, where she wanted $4,000 a month, she put me in at $120,000 a year, and she put herself in at $7,000 for the year, because she was a stay-at-home mom that year and she didn't work. Pretty big difference compared to what my actual income was and what her actual income could be. You have to look at that too, as far as how someone's going to fight, is to say, you can make this much money, get your ass to work. That's an argument that I thought was a pretty good argument. Turns out, she, May, tried to say, you know what? No, you don't have to work that hard. You can pay her for making less money. And that's a thing that lawyers do. And it's like, wow, really? You're spending $4.50 an hour to try and make less money? My lawyer didn't ever speak in a way that she was pointing and putting someone down. She didn't try to hurt anybody. She didn't try and take anything from anybody. And that's a really good thing. I'm very happy with my choice, and I'm glad that she was there to help me out with my situation. I don't know if my ex-wife can look back and say, I did everything I could to make the situation go away as fast as possible, and I was nice to everybody in the process. No. I had that lawyer look at me in the eye during that mediation when I'm buying my kids. And when it came down to the end of the day, when we kind of figured out I have to move for a year and all this stuff, she looked me in the eye and she said, you can take my deal or we'll see you in court. And I've never been talked to by anybody like that. And it was just really wow, what a thing to kind of deal with in the moment. And I remember looking over, because X is sitting right beside her, that look that she gave me in that moment was just this look of a little bit of a sinister smile, like, gotcha, bitch. And I don't think I'll ever forget that moment. And I learned a lot about lawyers that day, because for a long time I wanted to see this woman run over by a bus. Fuck you, go outside and play in traffic and die. But now can look back at the situation and say, look, she's just doing her job. Just like my lawyer was just doing her job. She's seen this 100 times, whatever. We'll get you down the road, Brett, don't you worry. But because she was new and she was somebody that was working for her client, which was to get all the money you can get all the control you can get. She was just doing her job. You see it in TV shows all the time of people dealing with lawyers back and forth. And of course, with actors, you get to play a part a little bit. It was very difficult for me to sit in that meeting. And when you're trying to get custody of your own children, that 6 months prior, we're all just this family, and now we're this broken family, and you see your children on paper as assets that you're fighting over, and their full name is on there, and you like, over and over again, because now this is between the personal ones that we did and then the lawyer ones that we did, there's probably 6 or 7 back and forths of her money just keeps getting less and less and less and less and less, and it was still full custody or shared custody, but the dollar amount kept going down until I jumped through enough hoops to get this 50-50 custody. And it fucks with your mind. Like, you don't know what reality is anymore. And good lawyers will help you through that. Lawyers that like your money a little more than you will keep this situation going, because there's all sorts of shit they can pull out of their ass. There's all sorts of, would you like fries with that? And we can pause this and we can hold on to that and we can push that forward, and you can complain. You can not talk until like the last day and extend, and you can make this shit last for years. And there's a lot of people that just keep paying lawyers to fight for shit. And it's usually someone that keeps going after somebody else's shit and keeps going and just doesn't settle.
Keeps going and going and going and going. Nothing outlasts me. Oh!
Because of the way that I did my shit, I was done in about 1.5 years, which, as far as divorce goes, is actually quite short. And looking back, I can say I would recommend my type of lawyer to anybody going through my situation on the defendant end. The plaintiff end, get the asshole, get the coked out prick that shows up to work on Monday morning. He ain't feeling right and he really wants to go after somebody and make their day bad because he's having a bad day. Go after that guy if you're the plaintiff. But if you're on the defending end, is do what it takes to settle. Coming up, the monthlies. You didn't like your money, did you?